Have you ever sat in a bustling coffee shop, surrounded by the vibrant chatter of a younger generation, and felt like a ghost? A silent observer in a world that seems to have moved on without you. This is a quiet reality for many men entering their 60s, 70s, and beyond. It's a feeling not of loneliness necessarily, but of invisibility. The confident stride of youth, the easy banter, the subtle dance of attraction, it all seems like a language from a forgotten country. You might find yourself thinking that the days of being noticed, of being seen as a man with charm and appeal, have faded like an old photograph, bleached by the relentless sun of time. But what if I told you that this feeling of invisibility is one of the greatest illusions of modern life? What if the language of connection hasn't disappeared, but has simply evolved into a more sophisticated and nuanced dialect? The truth, a profound and often overlooked secret, is that women do not stop showing interest as they and you grow older. They simply master the art of subtlety. The bold, declarative statements of youth are replaced by gentle inquiries, the overt compliments with quiet observations, the direct invitations with thoughtful gestures. These are not signs of diminished interest. They are signs of a deeper, more emotionally intelligent form of engagement. This is not a guide to recapturing your youth. It is an invitation to awaken to the present. We are about to embark on a journey to decode this hidden language of later life attraction, to explore 5 of the most powerful yet frequently missed signals that women use to express genuine interest. These are not grand cinematic gestures, but the quiet, everyday questions and actions that are steeped in hidden meaning. They are gentle knocks on the door, waiting to see if you will answer. Once you learn to recognize them, you may be astounded to discover that you have been the recipient of sincere attention far more often than you ever realized. This exploration will change not only how you perceive your interactions with others, but how you perceive yourself. It is a chance to realize that the warmth and regard you thought had vanished never truly went away. It simply changed its form, waiting for you to learn its new language. So stay with me, because the world around you is far more vibrant and full of potential than you currently believe. Before we delve into the specific signals, we must first understand the fundamental shift that occurs in the landscape of human connection as we age. The rules of engagement, the very currency of attraction, undergo a profound transformation. In our youth, attraction is often a loud and vibrant spectacle, a peacock's display of physical prowess, social status, and confident ambition. It is a marketplace driven by overt signals, where value is often projected outward. But as we journey through life, surviving its triumphs and its heartaches, its joys and its losses, a different economy of connection emerges. The focus shifts from the external to the internal, from projection to presence, from the thrilling chaos of a bonfire to the steady, enduring warmth of a hearth. This change is particularly pronounced in the way women, especially those over 60, communicate interest. Many women of this generation were raised in an era where societal scripts dictated a more reserved, modest approach to relationships. Being too forward or direct was often discouraged, seen as en femme famille or even desperate. These deeply ingrained social norms don't simply vanish with age. They evolve. The desire for connection remains as potent as ever, but the methods of expressing it become more refined, more focused on emotional safety and genuine understanding. A woman in her 60s or 70s is not typically looking for a whirlwind romance based on superficial charm. She is often seeking a partner, a companion, a confidant. She is looking for someone whose character has been forged in the crucible of a life fully lived, someone who possesses the quiet strength that only comes from experience. Consequently, Her method of showing interest is not about making a grand, risky move. It is about creating a space for authentic connection to grow. Think of it as the difference between a real estate agent aggressively selling a house and a skilled gardener tending to a delicate plant. The gardener doesn't force the bloom. She creates the right conditions for it to happen naturally. She ensures the soil is rich, provides water and sunlight, and protects it from the harsh elements. Similarly, a woman expressing interest in this stage of life will often do so by creating an environment of emotional comfort and intellectual curiosity. Her flirting is less about seduction and more about invitation. She is testing the waters, not to see if you are physically attractive in a conventional sense, but to see if you are emotionally present, kind, and interesting. She wants to know if your inner world is a place she would like to visit, and perhaps, eventually, call home. Many men miss these signals entirely because they are still listening for the loud music of their youth. They are attuned to a frequency of communication that is no longer being broadcast. They misinterpret profound curiosity as mere politeness, a thoughtful gesture as simple neighborliness, and a compliment about their character as a platonic observation. This misinterpretation is the very root of that feeling of invisibility. It is a form of self-imposed isolation, born not of a lack of interest from others, but from a failure to recognize its new and more beautiful form. Understanding this fundamental shift is the first and most crucial step. It is the key that unlocks all the doors that follow. You must recalibrate your social compass, learning to navigate by the steady light of the stars rather than the fleeting flash of fireworks. If you have ever felt this shift in social dynamics in your own life, or have a story about how communication has changed for you over the years, we would be honored if you shared your experience in the comments below. Your insights help build a community of understanding. Now, with this foundational understanding in place, we can begin to explore the first and perhaps most fundamental key to this hidden language, the curiosity question. This is often the very first tendril of interest a woman extends, and its power lies in its elegant disguise as simple, polite conversation. On the surface, a question like, "So, what do you usually do to keep busy during the week?" Or, "What sort of things are you passionate about these days?" seems like perfectly normal small talk. It is what one might ask a new acquaintance at a community event or in a waiting room. However, when a woman is genuinely interested, these questions are not just filler. They are finely crafted tools designed to open a window into your world. The difference between polite, passing curiosity and intentional, interested curiosity lies in the texture of the interaction. It is about frequency, depth, and the nonverbal cues that accompany the words. A person making simple small talk will ask a question, receive an answer, and move on to the next topic. A woman who is intrigued will ask a follow-up question, and then another. She is not just ticking a box, she is pulling on a thread, hoping it will lead to the rich tapestry of your life story. If you mention that you enjoy woodworking, she won't just nod and say, "That's nice." She might ask, "Oh, what kind of things do you like to make?" Or, "How did you get started in that? Was it something you've always done?" These are not idle questions. They are invitations for you to share your passions, your history, and the things that make you who you are. If you mention that you enjoy woodworking, she won't just nod and say, "That's nice." She might ask, "Oh, what kind of things do you like to make?" Or, "How did you get started in that? Was it something you've always done?" These are not idle questions. They are invitations for you to share your passions, your history, and the things that make you who you are. Let's consider the story of Robert, a 72-year-old retired civil engineer from Sacramento, a man who, after losing his wife of 45 years, felt adrift in a sea of silence. He was a man of logic and concrete plans, and the unstructured quiet of his new life was unnerving. On the advice of his daughter, he joined a local community garden, hoping the methodical work of tilling soil and tending plants would provide some comfort.
It was there he met Eleanor, a retired librarian with a warm smile and eyes that seemed to see more than most. At first, their conversations were, to his mind, entirely predictable. She would ask about his prized tomato plants. "They're looking wonderful, Robert. What's your secret?" He would explain his watering schedule and choice of fertilizer, and that would be that. But then the questions began to drift. "You have such a patient hand with those vines," she said one sunny afternoon. "Were you always so patient, even when you were a boy growing up in Ohio?" Robert was taken aback. He had mentioned his Ohio childhood in passing weeks ago. He answered, a bit awkwardly at first, sharing a memory of his father teaching him to build a model airplane, a task that required immense patience. Eleanor listened intently, not looking at his tomatoes anymore, but at him. The following week, she asked about his career. "It must have been so fascinating building bridges," she remarked. "What was the most challenging project you ever worked on?" This was not small talk. This was an excavation. Eleanor was gently digging past the surface of Robert the widower at the garden to find Robert the man. She was showing him, through her focused curiosity, that his story was valuable and that she wanted to hear it. For months, Robert interpreted this as exceptional friendliness. It wasn't until Eleanor, citing a shared love for classical music he'd mentioned, invited him to a matinee performance by the local symphony that the pieces finally clicked into place. Her questions had not been random. They were the deliberate, careful construction of a bridge between her world and his.
The psychology behind this is profound. Open-ended, personal questions create a state of what psychologists call reciprocal self-disclosure. By inviting you to share something personal, she creates an implicit social contract. She has shown vulnerability by expressing interest, and now you have the safe space to do the same. This builds trust and emotional intimacy far more effectively than any compliment about your appearance ever could. She is not asking, "Are you single?" but rather, "Are you interesting? Are you kind? Are you someone I would enjoy spending time with?" The answers to these deeper questions are not found in a single response, but in the narrative that unfolds over time. The curiosity question is her way of saying, "Please tell me your story. I'm listening." Recognizing this signal for what it is, a genuine expression of a desire to know you better, is the first major step out of the shadows of perceived invisibility. That was the first secret, a crucial foundation for understanding this new language of connection. If you find this insight about the power of the curiosity question helpful and can see how it might apply in your own life, please comment with the number 1 below to let us know. Your feedback helps us understand what resonates most with you. Flowing naturally from the gentle inquiry of curiosity is a second, more playful signal, one that often flies completely under the radar of many older men: the teasing compliment. This is not the straightforward, "You look very handsome today," which can sometimes feel awkward or overly formal in later life. Instead, it is a much lighter, more nuanced form of acknowledgement, wrapped in a cloak of humor and playful observation. It might sound something like, "I bet you were a real troublemaker when you were younger," delivered with a wry smile. Or perhaps after you tell a particularly witty story, she might say, "You have that kind of mischievous glint in your eye. I'm starting to think I need to watch out for you." These are not insults, nor are they mere jests. They are intricate social maneuvers, compliments disguised as playful jabs. For many women over 60, who may feel that overt flirtation is undignified or out of place, this method provides the perfect balance. It allows them to express admiration and attention without the emotional risk of a direct compliment, which could be rejected or misinterpreted.
The teasing element lowers the stakes, creating a shared, light-hearted space where both individuals can engage without pressure. It's an invitation to a dance, a gentle nudge to see if you will join in the playful rhythm she has established. To understand the power of the teasing compliment, we must appreciate the emotional impact it creates. A direct compliment, while nice, can sometimes put a person on the spot. But a teasing compliment catches you off guard, prompts a smile or a laugh, and fosters an immediate sense of shared amusement. It makes you feel seen, not for your static qualities, but for your dynamic personality, your wit, your charm, your history. For a man who may have spent years being defined by his roles as a husband, father, or professional, being seen for these more personal, even slightly roguish attributes can be incredibly invigorating. It's a spark that can relight a part of his identity he may have thought was long dormant.
Frank, a 68-year-old retired sales manager from Austin, Texas, who, in an effort to stay active and meet new people, decided to take up line dancing at the local community center. Frank was not a natural dancer. His movements were more enthusiastic than coordinated, but he had fun. A woman in the class, Brenda, a retired teacher with a quick laugh, seemed to make a habit of commenting on his style. "Frank," she'd say, as they took a water break, "you're either the most confident man in Texas or you're just making it all up as you go along." She always said it with a warm, crinkling smile that reached her eyes. For weeks, Frank just laughed it off, assuming she was just being cheeky and friendly. He'd reply with a self-deprecating joke about having 2 left feet. What he didn't realize was that Brenda's teasing was a consistent, targeted form of attention. She wasn't commenting on everyone's dancing, she was commenting on his. The compliment was hidden within the tease. She was noticing his confidence, his unself-conscious joy in the activity. She was saying, "I see the spirit you bring to this, and I find it charming." For weeks, Frank just laughed it off, assuming she was just being cheeky and friendly. He'd reply with a self-deprecating joke about having 2 left feet. What he didn't realize was that Brenda's teasing was a consistent, targeted form of attention. She wasn't commenting on everyone's dancing, she was commenting on his. The compliment was hidden within the tease. She was noticing his confidence, his unself-conscious joy in the activity. She was saying, "I see the spirit you bring to this, and I find it charming." The breakthrough came one evening when, after one of her usual remarks, she added, "You know, if you ever want some pointers from a pro, I could show you a few moves after class sometime, just the 2 of us." Suddenly, the context of all her previous comments shifted. They weren't just playful observations, they were breadcrumbs, leading him to this very invitation. She wasn't mocking him, she was engaging him, creating a private joke between them that slowly built a foundation of familiarity and flirtation. The psychology at play here is fascinating. Teasing creates a low-pressure interaction loop. She offers a playful comment. If you respond in kind, with a smile, a witty retort, or by playfully accepting the premise, you have successfully entered her rhythm. For example, to Brenda's comment about being a troublemaker, a man could smile and say, "The statute of limitations has passed, so I can neither confirm nor deny," or "only on days that ended with Y." This kind of response acknowledges the compliment, returns the playfulness, and signals that you are comfortable and receptive to this style of interaction. You are, in essence, flirting back without ever having to use the word flirt. The teasing compliment is a signpost, not a criticism. It's a woman's way of saying she sees beyond the gray in your hair and the years on your face and connects with the vibrant, timeless personality within. We've now explored the second subtle key. If these insights into the teasing compliment have been valuable to you and you're enjoying this deep dive into the art of later life connection, please let me know by commenting with the number 2 below.
Your engagement is incredibly motivating for us, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the notification bell so you won't miss any of our future content. Now, let's proceed to an even more subtle yet profoundly meaningful form of invitation.
The third key is one of the most frequently misinterpreted signals of them all, often dismissed as simple kindness, when it is, in fact, a carefully veiled gesture of significant interest. This is the act of offering an unnecessary favor. I am not referring to the common courtesies of neighborly life, such as offering to collect someone's mail while they are on vacation, or helping to carry in a heavy bag of groceries. Those are acts of general goodwill. The unnecessary favor is different. It is more specific, more personal, and often slightly out of sync with any expressed need. It is a woman offering help you didn't ask for, and perhaps didn't even realize you needed, as a way to gently and purposefully insert herself into your life. Imagine this. You mention in a casual conversation that you're trying to cut back on sugar. A week later, she shows up at your door with a small batch of homemade oatmeal cookies, saying, "I know you're watching your sweets, but I made these with applesauce instead of sugar, so I thought you might like to try them." Or perhaps you never mentioned needing a ride, but she learns you have a dentist appointment across town and says, "Oh, I'll be over in that area on Tuesday anyway. Let me drive you. It's no trouble at all." These are not random acts of kindness. They are calculated, thoughtful gestures designed to bridge the distance between you. They are excuses to interact, to show care, and to create a small personal bond. So, why do women, particularly those from a generation that valued indirectness, use favors as a vehicle for expressing interest? Firstly, it provides a safe and socially acceptable pretext for proximity. Arriving with cookies or offering a ride is a tangible, justifiable reason to be in your space, to have a conversation, to spend time together without the explicit and potentially vulnerable act of asking for a date. It reframes the interaction from a romantic pursuit to a helpful gesture, which dramatically lowers the perceived risk of rejection for her. If you decline, you are simply declining the favor, not her as a person. Secondly, and more importantly, performing a favor for someone is a powerful act of emotional investment. This phenomenon is related to a psychological principle known as the Ben Franklin effect, which suggests that we grow to like people for whom we do favors. The act of investing our time and effort into someone else's well-being reinforces our positive feelings toward them. In this context, the reverse is also powerfully true. When a woman already likes you, she has an intrinsic desire to do things for you. She wants to contribute to your life in a small, meaningful way. The favor is a physical manifestation of her internal emotional state. It's her way of saying, "You are on my mind, and you are worth my effort." Let's return to the story of Gary, a 72-year-old retired postal worker who found solace in his community garden after his wife passed away. He was a quiet man, content to spend hours weeding and watering in solitude. He met a woman there named Linda, a retired nurse. One day, she approached his plot holding a tray of vibrant marigold seedlings. "I had a few extra, Gary," she said. "I know you didn't plant any, and they're wonderful for keeping the pests away from your tomatoes." Gary, a man conditioned to self-sufficiency, almost declined but accepted out of politeness. A week later, on a blazing hot afternoon, Linda appeared with a wide-brimmed sun hat. "I noticed you weren't wearing one yesterday, and I was worried you'd get a burn. I have a spare. Please take it." At first, Gary categorized these acts as Linda being motherly or just exceptionally nice. He was a man who prided himself on not being a burden to anyone. But the pattern continued. She would bring him a cold bottle of water on hot days. She would stay a few minutes late to help him put his tools away, chatting about his day. The turning point was when she remembered the name of his old beagle, Patches, whom he had mentioned in a fleeting story a month prior. It was then that Gary realized these were not random acts. They were specific, targeted, and thoughtful. Linda wasn't seeing him as a project or a charity case. She was seeing him as a person she wanted to care for. Her favors were not a commentary on his inability, but a testament to his value in her eyes.
The offer of help was an offer of connection. It was her way of knocking on the door of his life, not with a demand, but with a gift. The next time a woman offers you a favor that seems just a little too thoughtful, a little too specific to be a coincidence, pause before you politely decline. Consider that it might not be about the favor at all. It might be a quiet, profound invitation. Have you ever experienced this kind of thoughtful, unnecessary favor from someone? Or perhaps you've been the one to offer it. Share your story in the comments. These real-life examples enrich our understanding. We have now covered the third secret. If you appreciate this analysis of how acts of service can be a language of interest, please let us know by commenting with the number 3 below. Building on the foundation of thoughtful actions, we arrive at the fourth key, a signal that is perhaps the most ephemeral and yet one of the most powerful indicators of genuine interest, the memory test. This is when a woman recalls and brings up a small, seemingly insignificant detail that you shared with her in a past conversation. It might be something you've already forgotten you even said. This act of remembering is not a coincidence, nor is it a sign of a superhuman memory. It is a deliberate and profound signal of attention, and it is a form of intimacy that most men completely overlook. When a woman brings up a minor detail from your past, she is sending a multifaceted and deeply resonant message. She is telling you first and foremost that when you speak, she truly listens. She is not just passively hearing words while waiting for her turn to talk. She is actively absorbing your story, filing away the pieces that make you who you are. Our brains are not passive recording devices, they are filters. We remember what is emotionally salient to us, what resonates, what we deem important. For her to have stored a small detail about you, the name of your first pet, your favorite kind of coffee, a funny story about a fishing trip with your grandson, it means that at that moment you were important. Let's revisit Frank, the 68-year-old line dancer from Austin. Seeking more intellectual stimulation, he also joined a local book club that met at a quiet cafe. During his first meeting, the group was discussing a historical novel, which led to a brief tangent where Frank shared a short anecdote about a fishing trip he took with his grandson to Lake Travis a few years back. He mentioned with a laugh his grandson's determination to catch a legendary catfish named Old Bessie. It was a 2-minute story, a piece of conversational fluff. He thought nothing more of it. 2 weeks later, at the next meeting, a woman from the group, Margaret, approached him as he was getting his coffee. "Frank," she said with a warm smile, "I was thinking about your story the other day. Did your grandson ever have another go at catching Old Bessie?"
Frank was momentarily stunned. He had completely forgotten telling the story to the group. The fact that she not only remembered it but had apparently been thinking about it was a quiet revelation. In that moment, Margaret was not just making polite conversation. She was handing him a gift. She was showing him, in the most subtle and respectful way possible, that his words had landed, that his personal story had value, and that he had occupied a space in her thoughts long after their conversation had ended. This is an incredibly validating experience, especially for someone who may feel that their personal stories have lost their audience. The psychology behind this is tied directly to the human need for validation and recognition. To be remembered is to be seen. When someone proves they remember the specifics of your life, it confirms your existence and your significance to them. For a woman using this as a form of connection, it is a brilliantly safe and effective strategy. It is non-confrontational, deeply personal, and almost impossible to misinterpret as anything other than genuine positive regard. It's a feeler, a test to see if you will notice the care behind the act. A man who is not paying attention might simply answer the question factually, "No, we haven't been back since," and move on. But a man who understands the language being spoken will recognize the significance of the question itself. A good response would be to acknowledge the act of remembering. Frank could have said, "Wow, Margaret, I'm impressed you remembered that. That's very thoughtful of you." This simple statement validates her gesture and opens the door for a more personal conversation.
He is no longer just talking about fishing, he is talking about the fact that she listened. This meta-conversation is where the real connection happens. The memory test is like a set of breadcrumbs she leaves for you, leading you back to a moment of past connection, reminding you that it was real and that it mattered. It's her quiet way of saying, I'm keeping pieces of your story because I hope to be a part of its future chapters. This powerful act of remembering is our fourth key. If you found this insight valuable and it's helping you see past interactions in a new light, please show your support by commenting with the number 4 below. And if you're getting value from this deep dive, please take a moment to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Your support allows us to continue creating content that informs and inspires. Let's move on to our final and equally subtle sign. We now arrive at the 5th and final key in our exploration of this nuanced language of connection, a signal that masterfully combines observation, respect, and admiration into one potent package, the compliment in disguise. This is not a compliment about your physical appearance or your possessions. It is something far deeper and more insightful. It is a compliment about your character, your demeanor, or the effect your presence has on others. Because it doesn't fit the traditional mold of a compliment, many older men hear the words, register them as pleasant, and then let them drift away, completely missing the flirtatious undertone and the profound admiration they contain. When a woman offers this kind of compliment, she is often saying something like, "You seem to be very different from most other men your age," or, after a conversation, "You have such a calming presence. I feel like I could talk to you for hours." Another common example might be, "It's so rare to meet a man who actually listens without trying to solve the problem. You make people feel truly heard." These statements are not small talk. They are carefully chosen observations that serve as a quiet form of flirtation wrapped in a veil of deep respect.
Why is this method so common and so effective? For women over 50 or 60, complimenting a man's looks can feel superficial or even desperate, a relic of a younger, less sophisticated dating culture. Instead, an emotionally intelligent woman will focus on the qualities she truly values in a partner: stability, kindness, wisdom, and a reassuring presence. By complimenting your character, she is signaling what she finds genuinely attractive. She is telling you, "I have observed you, I have assessed your qualities, and I have found something admirable and desirable." This is a far more significant statement than "you have nice eyes." It's an endorsement of who you are as a person. Let's imagine the story of Alan, a 72-year-old retired history professor who was attending a coffee social after a Sunday service at his local church. He was a quiet man by nature, more of a listener than a talker. He found himself in a small group discussion about local community issues. He mostly listened, only occasionally interjecting with a thoughtful question. Afterward, a woman named Susan approached him. "Alan," she said, "I just wanted to tell you something. In a world where everyone is shouting to be heard, you have a remarkable ability to listen. It's a real gift." Alan, a modest man, simply blushed a little and said, "Oh, thank you, that's very kind." He interpreted it as a nice, polite comment and thought nothing more of it. What Alan failed to grasp was the depth of Susan's message. She wasn't just complimenting his listening skills. She was telling him how his presence made her feel. She was saying, "In your presence, I feel safe, I feel heard, I feel respected." In psychology, this is related to the concept of emotional attribution. When someone makes us feel a certain positive way, we begin to associate that feeling with them. Susan was creating a bridge of positive emotion between them, and her compliment was the first plank in that bridge. It was an invitation for Alan to see himself through her eyes, not just as a retired professor, but as a man with a rare and attractive quality. This type of compliment is also a brilliant way for a woman to express interest without making herself vulnerable. It is an observation of fact, and therefore less easily rejected than a direct proposition. It also serves as a test. She is putting a very specific, high-quality piece of date on the line. Will he just nibble at it with a polite thank you?
Or will he understand its significance? A man who is attuned to this language might respond with something that acknowledges the depth of the compliment. For example, Alan could have said, "Thank you, Susan. That's one of the kindest things anyone has said to me in a long time. I find our conversations are always so engaging. It's easy to listen." This response does three things. It shows he values her compliment, it reciprocates with a compliment of his own, and it keeps the door of conversation wide open.
So, the next time a woman offers you a compliment that seems to bypass the superficial and touch upon the very essence of your character, pause and consider its full weight. Is she noticing something in you that others often overlook? Is she highlighting a quality that you pride yourself on? If so, she is likely doing more than just being polite. She is holding up a mirror to show you the best version of yourself, and she is quietly hoping that you will notice her standing there, holding it for you. She is admiring the man you have become. This concludes our analysis of the 5 keys. If this final insight about the compliment in disguise has helped you understand the subtle ways admiration is expressed, please let us know by commenting with the number 5. We love reading your feedback and learning what resonates with our community. Now that we have explored these 5 distinct yet interconnected keys to the subtle language of later life attraction, it is crucial to understand how to weave them together. A single signal, one curious question, one teasing compliment can be ambiguous. It could, in isolation, simply be an act of friendliness. The true art of understanding lies in recognizing the pattern. It is the consistency, the frequency, and the layering of these signals that transforms them from isolated data points into a coherent and undeniable message of interest. Think of it as learning to read the weather. One dark cloud might not mean a storm is coming, but a combination of dark clouds, a drop in barometric pressure, the smell of rain in the air, and a rising wind is a clear and reliable forecast. This is where you must learn to recalibrate your social compass. It requires moving from a state of passive reception to one of active, mindful observation. When a woman asks you a personal question, also notice her body language. Is she making sustained, warm eye contact? Is she leaning in slightly, creating a bubble of intimacy between you? When she offers a teasing compliment, is her smile genuine, reaching her eyes? When she does you an unnecessary favor, does she find other excuses to be in your orbit? It is the constellation of these behaviors, not a single star, that points the way. Furthermore, understanding these signals is only half of the equation. The other half, the part that requires courage and a renewed sense of self-worth, is how you choose to respond. Your response is your answer to her quiet question. A polite but dismissive answer closes the door. A warm, reciprocal, and engaged response opens it wider. This does not mean you must make a grand romantic gesture. The response should match the subtlety of the signal. If she remembers a small detail about you, you can respond by saying, "I'm touched that you remembered that," and then follow it up with a curious question about her own life, demonstrating that the interest is mutual. If she offers a teasing compliment, respond with gentle playfulness of your own. You are joining her in the dance, matching her step for step. However, it's equally important to address a common fear among men in this position, the fear of misreading the signals and making a fool of oneself. This is a valid concern, and it is why the approach must be one of gentleness and reciprocity, not assumption. The beauty of this subtle language is that it has built-in safety mechanisms. By responding in a way that is equally gentle, you risk very little. If you have misread the situation and she was merely being friendly, a warm and engaging response will simply be received as you being a warm and engaging person. No harm is done. But if you have read the signals correctly,
Your gentle reciprocation gives her the green light to continue, perhaps with a signal that is slightly more explicit. It is a gradual escalation of mutual interest, built on a foundation of respect and careful observation. Ultimately, this all comes back to a core principle that extends far beyond dating or romance: the importance of building a rich and fulfilling life for yourself. Confidence is not something you can fake. It is the natural byproduct of a life well lived. The most attractive quality a man of any age can possess is a genuine passion for his own life. Cultivate your hobbies, whether it's woodworking, gardening, dancing, or studying history. Nurture your friendships. Stay engaged with your community. When you are a man who is interesting to himself, you become infinitely more interesting to others. Women are not attracted to a void that needs to be filled. They are attracted to a vibrant, self-sustaining energy they wish to be near. The signals we have discussed are often extended to the man who is already shining his own light, not the one sitting alone in the dark waiting to be rescued. Do you have any personal strategies for building confidence and staying engaged in later life? Please share your wisdom and experiences in the comments section. Your story could be the inspiration someone else needs to hear today. As we draw this exploration to a close, let us return to that fundamental, haunting truth that many men feel but rarely speak aloud: the feeling of becoming invisible. The real secret we have uncovered today is that this invisibility is not a reality imposed upon you by the world, but a perception that can be dismantled piece by piece with awareness and understanding. You are not in your 30s anymore, and that is not a loss. It is a transformation. The raucous energy of youth has been replaced by something far more rare and valuable: the quiet power of a life's worth of experience. The warmth you carry, the calm you exude, the character that has been etched into you by decades of joy, sorrow, and perseverance, these are the qualities that are truly magnetic. The women who are capable of seeing and appreciating these qualities do not speak in shouts, they speak in signals. They communicate their interest not through bold invitations, but through the gentle poetry of a curious question, the playful wink of a teasing compliment, the profound care of an unnecessary favor, the deep validation of a remembered story, and the quiet admiration of a compliment in disguise. To miss these signals is to miss the most meaningful and sincere expressions of connection that happen in later life. It is to remain in that coffee shop, feeling like a ghost, while a world of warmth and potential interaction swirls around you unnoticed. This journey is not about chasing something you've lost or desperately trying to learn a new set of rules for a game. It is about recognizing the timeless value you already carry. It is about learning to listen to a quieter, more beautiful frequency of communication. So, the next time a woman asks a question that seems to dig a little deeper, or offers a compliment that touches on your character, or lingers in a conversation just a moment longer than necessary, please do not brush it off. Do not assume it means nothing. See it for the invitation that it is. Offer a warm smile, stay present in the moment, and perhaps, with a newfound confidence, ask a curious question of your own. You may be surprised to find that you were never invisible at all. You were simply waiting for the right person to notice the light you were already giving off. Thank you for joining us on this deep and reflective journey today. We sincerely hope these insights have provided you with a new lens through which to view your world and your place within it. After all of this analysis, what is the most important lesson or idea that you will take away for yourself? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Reading your reflections gives us great encouragement and helps us build a stronger community. The path of self-awareness and connection is a continuous one. It begins with small, deliberate steps. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please show your appreciation by hitting the like button, subscribing to our channel, and most importantly, sharing it with someone who might benefit from this message. Your support is what enables us to continue creating good content designed to inform and inspire. Thank you for watching, and we look forward